Well, we move on to some other stories now coming in from Italy. This time, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Rome on his final leg of the five-nation diplomatic tour and received a very warm welcome from members of the Indian diaspora, cultural performers and local supporters who had gathered at his hotel in the Italian capital. Soon after landing, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni over dinner and later visited the iconic Colosseum with her, and now with these two leaders exchanging views on a wide range of subjects ahead of our formal bilateral talks. Now, the atmosphere around Modi's arrival reflected both diplomatic significance and cultural warmth. The Prime Minister interacted with members of the Indian community, signed autographs for children and witnessed special cultural performances organized in his honor. Italian artists performed musical pieces inspired by Indian classical traditions, including a composition based on Raga Hamsadvani, while an Italian Kathak artist, also who had lived in India for over 15 years, expressed happiness at welcoming the Prime Minister through dance. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to conclude his five-nation diplomatic tour with an official visit to Italy on May 19th and 20th at the invitation of the Italian Prime Minister. Now, the visit comes after a series of high-level engagements across Europe focused on boosting India's global partnership in trade, defence, energy security, innovation, mobility and strategic cooperation. With that, let's in fact take a look at the bilateral trade between India and Italy, which will be in focus. We brought to you how the Indian diaspora in fact welcomed the Prime Minister. We had the Italian Prime Minister also welcoming Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But let's look at the bilateral trade between India and Italy. So, the total trade is around $13.84 billion, and India's export to Italy is around $7.73 billion. So, it's almost half. It's a very balanced export that we are looking at. Let's look at what India's primary exports to Italy are. It's petroleum products, telecom instruments, pharmaceuticals, organic chemicals, RMG cotton and apparel, iron and steel, electronic equipments as well. Let's look at India's primary imports, something that we bring in from Italy, which is electronic equipments. We look at scientific and medical instruments. We look at machinery, plastic raw materials, pharmaceuticals and iron and steel. So, these are basically our imports from Italy. So, remember, it's a very balanced trade that we are looking at when we are looking at the total bilateral trade as well. We have exports of around 7.73 billion and a similar amount of imports. Let me in fact take this across to an economist who is joining us on the broadcast, Mr. Akash Jindal. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out your time and for speaking to NewsX. So, very good afternoon to you. Mr. Jindal, when we are looking at India and Italy bilateral trade, obviously it's a very balanced trade that we are looking at. I want to understand from your perspective what all are the deals that India should work on during this diplomatic visit to Italy.
I think the main discussions are going to happen on defense industrial partnerships, maritime security, supply chains, clean energy cooperation, technology collaboration. Plus, there are lots of things which India can export to Italy. See, now we are having a GDP growth of 8.2%. That's for the September 2025 quarter. For December 2025 quarter, we had a GDP growth of 7.8%, where Italy, now the growth has slowed down just around 0.5%. So, there are a lot of things where Italy can join hands with India. Number one, Italy can put a lot of FDI into India because Italy doesn't have that sort of growth opportunities. In fact, entire Europe now post Iran-US issue is expected to be in negative GDP growth, whereas we are offering the fastest GDP growth in the entire world amongst the bigger economies. So one is that Italy can do a lot of FDI here. For portfolio money, Italy can invest here. That would be to their advantage. Secondly, as far as exports is concerned, there are many exports which India can do to Italy. There are new avenues of exports which are opening. Now, automobiles is one area where we have got manpower available at viable cost. We can export it to them. Plus, then there are many other things which we can export. So I think the bilateral trade between India and Italy can, increase up to 2.5 times, because this has been a very, very good visit. Now the chemistry was quite good. Now earlier we have been involved with Italy in G7, G20 summits, but one-to-one meetings and one-to-one understanding of each other's strengths, I think it's a great thing. So I would say this sort of tie-up, this sort of meet is going to help India a lot. See, on one hand, you see Iran and US fighting with each other,
Right.
troubling each other, spending money, wasting money. Whereas on the other hand, if you see our Prime Minister Modi, just some days ago we had an FTA with New Zealand, which is going to increase Indian exports, which is going to get higher GDP, which is going to get us higher forex. Similarly, Italy also, the tie-ups which are going to happen now, they're going to get us higher exports, much more FDI. So
Right.
this is what is called Vasudha Kutumbakam. With affection and friendship, we are getting higher business, we are getting better money, we are having higher GDP growth. Where countries are fighting and losing, we all know what was the purpose behind Iran-US war.
Absolutely,
But both the
absolutely.
countries have lost badly. Where India, with friendship, with affection, with the Nara of Vasudha Kutumbakam, we are achieving, which neither Iran could achieve, nor US could achieve, nor Russia or China could achieve. So I think it's a telltale story how we are growing, and I expect the bilateral trade to increase a lot, plus FDI and foreign portfolio money also to come to India.
Absolutely, Mr. Jindal. I thank you for your vital perspective on this issue. In fact, when we talk about bilateral trade, let's also talk about personal relations between the leaders and how important that is. In a